Now, on Enough Said, with K-Fans Dan Barrero.
I don't even know where to begin, whether it's nefarious or incompetent or stupid or all of, I think it's probably all of it.
A little bit, yeah.
And Justin Guard.
You wonder at what point the loyalty stops with the people that work for him. Because Pence has been out on...
They like being in the White House, I guess.
Oh, I know, that's intoxicating for everybody, but it's...
Enough Said.
I was going to fire Comey. My decision. It was not...
You had made the decision before they came in the room.
I was going to fire Comey. There's no good time to do it, by the way.
Because in your letter you said I accepted their recommendation,
well,
so you had already made the decision.
I was going to fire regardless of recommendation.
So there was...
Welcome back to another edition of Enough Said. Dan Barrero is my name. Justin Guard is with me as usual. And Lori Fisher is in the control room to start the nonsense. I mean, I hope it's better than nonsense, but you know what I'm saying.
Good nonsense.
Yes.
Hi, guys. You just heard him right there. President Trump fires FBI Director James Comey, talking about it in an NBC exclusive interview. This comes just days after Comey testified on Capitol Hill about the presidential election and Russia. He is tweeting up a storm today. The fake media is working overtime. As a very active president with lots of things happening, it is not possible for my surrogates to stand at podium with perfect accuracy. Maybe the best thing to do would be cancel all future press briefings. And James Comey better hope that there are no tapes of our conversations before he starts leaking to the press. Dan.
That's my best one. That's my favorite one.
And those could be hours old at this point. Those could be double-A ball. We have no idea what he said the rest of the day.
May I start with a quote from a former president that the current president might have thought of before that last tweet?
Richard Nixon?
Or before he decided to fire James Comey? Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Oh, LBJ.
Great. I'm going to have to clean this up because it's a family show. Better, I guess, debating whether he should fire somebody, maybe even J. Edgar Hoover, I don't remember who it was, he came to the conclusion that it was better to have them inside the tent urinating out, if I'm cleaning this up, than outside urinating in. But once you make the move that he decided to make, it's one of many reasons that I don't even know where to begin, whether it's nefarious or incompetent or stupid or all of, I think it's probably all of
a little bit, yeah.
All of the above. I think when you really pare this down, this is a guy who he gets so frustrated. He goes into the room with his boys and girls and he says, I'm sick of hearing about Russia. And the investor, I'm sick of it. What can you do? And they say, well, not much. Yeah, I can. I'll fire his rear end. And that's really what this is about. And of course, he's doing it at a time where he's still under active investigation. I shouldn't even say he. The whole deal is under active investigation.
Everything is.
Okay?
Yep.
And if the idea is, I'm going to make this go away by this act, well, obviously, all it does is give it a second and third life. It's here forever now. That's what makes it stupid. And it also is potentially dangerous, given the investigation has to play out. And it has to be allowed to play out.
You wonder at what point the loyalty stops with the people that work for him. Because Pence has been out on...
They like being in the White House, I guess.
Well, I know that's intoxicating for everybody, but at some point when you're the fool over and over and over again, and I'm talking about all the different press secretaries, and Huckabee was the one I think most infamous this week for being trotted out there the day after all this happened, and really having no answers. And then just you say something, and then an hour later the president will say something completely different. That interview with Lester was completely contradictory to basically everything people have been saying all week, right? So at some point, don't you think the loyalty is going to run out on some of these guys?
You'd like to think, because you hit on it. There were about 9 different people interviewed, and they were asked the same question. Is this about the Russian investigation?
Right.
All the way up to the VP.
Yeah.
I said, absolutely nothing to do with it. So then Trump has the interview with NBC News, and what does he say?
I was thinking about the investigation. This is fake news.
It's fake news.
Let's get rid of them.
And so you're right. That's the position that all these guys and gals are in, and you'd think they would get, I guess you could say,
I have to stop you guys there.
Well, and being consistent on it, if it's one of the 50 executive orders that you sign every single day, that's fine if you can't have a meeting about that. But when you're firing the FBI director, let's all get on the same page.
Enough said.
Can we agree on that?
Absolutely, 100%.
I know we could keep going on this, but we have to move on. The U of M Board of Regents held an emergency meeting on Thursday after someone released confidential documents to a local TV station. Regents Chair Dean Johnson says they will get to the bottom of this and take necessary action, even making the Regents sign something saying, it wasn't me. Justin.
Well, as Dick Ames said, one of the most powerful boosters that they have of Ames Construction, there's always something going on over there. And I believe that is a direct quote. There's still so much that we don't know about this entire situation, about the sexual harassment, whether it violated the policy. Initially, they're saying that it did. We know from the Gopher football boycott and that whole situation that there's supposed to be a series of steps after that. So we don't know how far along we are on this with the fundraiser.
Yeah, for all we know, they are at the end of all those steps.
It's possible, but we don't know. But it's not good when a regent, their first instinct upon receiving, none of this is good, I think we can all agree, but when the regent's first instinct upon receiving this news is, who can I call? Who can I forward this to? Who can I help get this to make us look bad? It doesn't wear well on anybody. And I don't know the individual involved, Randy Handel, very well. I've been around him quite a bit. I can say with certainty we're not dealing with Norwood Teague Jr. here, because that's what, I don't know what happened. I'm sure we're going to find out at some point. But I don't like that link has been made because Norwood hired him, and we all know what happened.
Well, I will say I think you got to be careful though about going too far, and the regents do, about shooting the messenger, because this university is on such thin ice, especially in athletics, because for legitimate reasons when it comes to sexual harassment issues and texting and the players, etc., that I think to basically try to turn into who spoke up. Maybe that person was frustrated. I don't know. That's what we have to find out. Did they jump the gun on the process? And there should be some fairness to the process, whatever the allegations might indeed be. I want to throw this at you a different way, though.
Okay.
I'm going to say a few key words for you. APR ratings.
Yep.
Softball team, best ever.
Yep.
Row the boat.
Row the boat. PJ.
Patino. Things are looking better.
Yeah.
Everybody's Athletes Village. Everything's
it's all coming together.
The good
Center for
stuff
Excellence. That's what they're calling it.
Could be, and that the U could be talking about, again, goes to the back page.
It's true.
Because of another, at least significant allegation. But we have to find out how significant. You're right. We don't, to pretend we know yet, we don't.
We have no idea.
Exactly.
Next topic, St. Olaf's president says someone confessed to leaving a racist letter on a student's car to draw attention to concerns of the university's climate. There were protests at the university earlier this month in Northfield over the note, but it turns out that it was left there on purpose. We addressed this on the show, Dan.
You want to say I told you so, or is it too obnoxious? It probably is.
It's a little obnoxious, yeah.
But what
wouldn't
we
be
said
the first
was,
time.
Let's slow this down. Let's find out exactly what happened. Let's find out whether this is one individual, what this individual is up to, whether it was part of a larger group before the whole school had to basically be told you got to start over. And the part that bugs me the most about this is the president basically of the school had to be coaxed into giving the further detail that there was no racial animus involved in the notation, in the notes being left out. He didn't even bother to mention that first. And so we've got a guy who says we've still got some issues we want to address. Fine, go for it. I understand that. But to not send a stern message about how dangerous this act is potentially, and how it puts an entire school and every student in a position where they have to explain themselves, is gutless on his part, and it's embarrassing for the school.
Well, you think about how quickly that thing moved, and if you don't fire back at it and say we aren't going to tolerate this, because we saw again how quickly things can spiral out of control.
We did.
And we talked about students on the campus that were worried that if they didn't take part in a protest that they really might not have known anything about, their name was going on a list, basically.
Correct.
We heard from a number of different people there. Here's what I don't understand about hoaxes in general, though. Especially for a cause. If you're doing a hoax for a cause, which we've now seen at Gustavus and St. Olaf, it's sweeping the MIAC right now. They're sweeping the MIAC. But if it is going to be a hoax and you want positive change to be affected, don't you know that if it's investigated like you want, the hoax is going to be uncovered and then everybody's going to be mad. You know what I mean?
They are going to be mad, although the sad thing is, as we talked about on the radio to a degree, maybe the individual involved with the hoax would say, guess what? They've already made an agreement on a number of changes. They're going to sit out on a number of other things.
So it might be worth it in the end?
A cynic might say that despite the fact that what you're saying is accurate, they may say, I'll take the hit because they're talking about stuff that they apparently had no interest in talking about previously.
Well, maybe.
Didn't mean to kill someone, but that's literally what manslaughter is. So they should be charged with manslaughter because their actions killed someone.
That a lot of problems on college campuses are a result of the sort of environment, the sort of environment that makes people want to do some of these things like hazing and over drinking.
Welcome back to Enough Said. 18 fraternity members at Penn State University are now charged in the hazing death of a sophomore. Last February, 19-year-old Tim Piazza died 12 hours after drinking fatal amounts of alcohol and then falling down a flight of stairs. And here's the thing, no one called an ambulance until the next morning. He died of a traumatic brain injury. The charges are from involuntary manslaughter to providing alcohol to a minor. Dan.
Well, and some of the details,
they're awful.
In the morning, well, basically they put him on a couch, he's unconscious, and then they put a backpack on him so he
can't roll over.
So he can't
and
roll over,
which
is great. But rather than, well, how about taking the next step, which is to call 911? They don't bother to do it then. He falls back down the stairs at a later point as he gets up. At some point, he's trying to get out the front door, collapses, and as the story goes, some of his frat mates just walk over him, for God's sake. And look, you know me, I'm a big frat guy.
We always have been.
The whole concept of
you love the Greek system.
Any form of hazing. I don't even care if it's so-called minor, like we're gonna shave your armpits, and then you're not gonna be whatever the stupidity is.
Right.
Just so then you'll be one of us.
There's a status.
I've never understood the culture.
Me neither.
Okay?
No.
But I don't need the frat life to go away, even though I obviously have some biases
fairly good
and some
feelings
hang-ups
there,
going all the way back to Indiana University. But this is probably, I don't know legally how this will hold up, but this trend, which is a trend, is probably the only way to put the fear of God into individuals and saying, we got to back off. We all know kids drink in school.
Of course.
But this notion that we drink to this kind of excess and then this is sort of part of the pledge process is what's got to be dealt with.
And, well, especially when this has all been on our radar now for 10 or 15 years, where hazing has been a high, bullying is big, hazing is big. This is not like the president and the vice president of this frat.
Penn State, by the way, good luck to Penn State.
I know, another issue.
Another school that got a lot of issues.
But they understood exactly what was at stake if something went wrong. There were text messages going weeks back saying, if something happens with these pledges, it's on us, and it's our behinds, as someone would say. Hazing, I'm with you on hazing. Hazing is ridiculous.
The whole concept.
If you want to, have someone carry your bags or write one of your term papers, do whatever. But what comes down to is when something goes wrong, everybody freaks out, and there's got to be one person that gets the message of, yeah, we could be in trouble for drinking, we could be in trouble for hazing, but we've got to cut our losses here at some point.
It's a person who might be dying.
This guy, not one person came up with that.
One person tried. According to one of the reports, there was one guy who I've seen interviewed who basically, maybe even another pledge, said, hey,
he's in trouble.
We got to make a phone call. And that guy basically got told,
swallow it up.
Shut up. Don't get near this. This isn't your deal, and this is the end.
Just cut your losses. Yeah. Hazing on campus is bad. Drinking, sending the kid to a hospital. You're probably going to lose your frat. But
enough said.
By the way, the name of the frat, Beta Theta Pi. You know what that stands for? Men of Principle.
That is enough said.
Okay, I'm going to have to steal time from another topic now.
Enough said. That's fine.
Next up, Michael Floyd signed a one-year deal with the Vikings. A bit risky. Floyd was arrested for a DUI in December and is on house arrest until sometime in June. Vikings general manager Rick Spielman released this statement. Take a look, saying, Coach Zimmer and I are confident that Michael has learned and grown from his past decisions. We are aware that he is subject to discipline from the NFL and will work with both him and the NFL in a professional manner. Dan.
Well,
enough said there then.
I guess there's no time.
Just like Dalvin Cook, enough said.
I guess the feeling is he'll probably be suspended for the first 4 games. Yeah. Because he did time, right? He did jail time for this. He's still on house arrest, I believe.
Yeah, he can't leave till June.
Look, it's again, it's a low, from a football standpoint, it's a low risk move because they're not spending a lot of money on him. He has some ability. They need help at wide receiver, maybe further indicative of how they're not sure they can trust Treadwell, the number one choice from last year.
Local angle, too.
And it's local angle. But it was a very serious charge in his case, and serious conviction, I guess I should say, in his case. And it will be watched, and every time you go down this road, you can do it, but there you do run the risk that you could get burned by it, and there will be a public reaction if you do. But let's be honest.
The NFL,
he's a great player.
If he can help,
worry less about it.
Yeah, if he can help and the risk isn't too bad financially, like you said, it's definitely worth the shot. But you can't be surprised. And the Vikings clearly now with Dalvin Cook, who it's mixed.
We're jumping into the pool.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're back in the cesspool.
And that's fine. Because it's not, at the end of the day, it's not about being choir children. It is about winning in the NFL. That's what it's.
Does it bother you though that Belichick Didn't want to keep him? I always wonder when Belichick isn't interested in you. I mean,
possibly.
Football genius savant.
Possibly, but I'm sure
concerned.
they probably drafted somebody, or they found some old rugby player from some random Northeast school that's going to play wide receiver
what
for them
when you got
next
the greatest
year.
quarterback
You
ever.
can figure that out.
Yeah.
But taking chances, as long as you go in eyes wide open, it can work out. Jared Allen was eyes wide open.
Yes.
It was a bigger investment, you could say, given the draft picks that you gave up for him and
Gave
all
up
of
a
that.
lot.
That worked out really well for the Vikings. Corin Robinson, on the other hand, worked out well for a year, ended up getting in trouble. So there's always going to be a risk. Yeah, you bet, because you have to hope, if you're Rick Spielman, that you are right about this, because if the Wilfs do care about the quote-unquote culture of accountability,
Which they don't,
that they tried to put in 10 years ago, and something goes wrong with one of these guys, then you should be out.
Do you think it would be helpful? Am I hoping for too much if that somebody would come to a podium or issue a statement basically laying out what we just did and say, look, this ain't a choir boy league. He's got talent.
We have to move on.
I think they say it with their
receiver.
actions every week.
And would they get in trouble if they were just that honest?
Probably
would,
by
yeah.
some, but
Yeah.
the real fans don't care.
That's true.
Okay, next up, some Denver Bronco fans are mad because their season tickets are being revoked because they haven't gone to a game. Get this, there's 73,000 people waiting to own season tickets for the Broncos, but they can't predict the wait times. I talked to the Vikings today, and they say they haven't discussed doing the same thing, but other teams may follow. Dan?
You love this idea.
I'm so bored with it. I mean, I understand what they're trying to do.
They're trying to pass the tickets along.
I don't think they are.
To more deserving fans who have been sitting there for decades.
That's their fault. It's their problem.
Give them a chance. They want to actually go.
97% of their stadium is season ticket holders. That's insane.
Well, that's interest.
You don't give anybody a chance, though. You give no single
They're
game.
passionate about their team.
Every fans are passionate about their team. I just don't like the idea of, you bought this, you paid for it, and you can't do everything you want to do with it. We're going to decide what you do with it.
Would you be okay with it if there'd been a little more warning? Because one of the objections also is these ticket holders are saying, you didn't tell us this. In other words, if you'd have said to us, we're changing our policy, we've started to look through the rolls, and we're concerned about how few of you are using your own tickets.
That's a little fair.
Then you're on notice.
Yeah.
I think I might be able to live with it then. It's just hard to not be suspicious of the real motive involving all these teams, and that's the old secondary ticket market.
100%.
Where every team is trying various ways to sort of battle that, and is this just a ploy that they're using, pretending that they're trying to stand tall for the fan?
For the first time. When's an NFL team ever stood tall for a fan?
Packers do.
They do?
Green Bay Packers organization is different.
Well, I do know that. Every year,
Herb Schmidt tells us that
every year
all the time.
they reissue new stock so that their fans can buy in.
That's it.
I think it's a very reasonable price of like $300 per share. Yeah, I just don't. I mean, they're your tickets. You buy. There's a million different reasons why people buy season tickets and don't use them. Do some buy them and sell them just to make money? Of course. But
in some cases it was medical reasons.
Yeah, or they live out of
people pointed
town and they
and
just want to stay connected. They're from Denver.
It's dangerous because of how far does it go.
Yes.
But I mean,
how many games is too few?
There'll be some other teams I think that'll pick. Now that one team's done it.
Yeah.
That's been brave about it. I think other teams will pick up on it, and then it'll open up. I also wonder what the legal implications are. In other words, if one of these season ticket holders hired an attorney, like a Ron Rosenbaum, how would
Who would hate this, by the way? I think.
I think he probably would.
Don't you think?
I wonder if the Broncos could get away with it. Now, my assumption is there might be some fine print,
Definite fine print
on the back of the ticket that says we reserve the right to revoke this ticket for you from any reason at any point. But if it actually went to court, I wonder if maybe you could challenge the thing. I'm hoping somebody does because I'd like to see where it goes.
Well, it's happened with the L.A. Rams or the St. Louis Rams leaving. They were trying to do lawsuits for the personal seat licenses, and that's basically what the judge said. No, it was in the fine print. You guys signed up for it.
By the way,
they
if they
can
win
take it
that
at any
case,
point.
they also.
It's time for the lightning round. Former dance moms Abby Lee Miller sentenced to 1 year in prison for bankruptcy fraud. She had become famous on reality TV, hid her money, now blames the spotlight. Dan, you're a dance dad, so let's start with you.
And you're in the spotlight.
It's a great
spotlight.
It's one of the better inventive alibis. So I didn't want to be famous, but once I became famous, it did things to me over which I had no control, including apparently committing these crimes. Genius. I'm not sure the judge is going to care.
What do they say about money?
I haven't seen that show in a long time. Is it still going?
I think so.
Dance Moms?
Yeah, I think
so. And these are the insane.
Well, it's going every week.
Mothers
at a dance
By the
studio
way,
near
is
you.
it sexist to assume that it's always insane dance moms? I got to believe there's some insane dance dads out there.
Well, you tell us.
Well, I try not to be, but
you
it's
tell
early.
us. Yeah.
Okay, next up. This is a sad story. The wife of longtime ESPN broadcaster Chris Berman's wife died in a car accident in Connecticut. She was 67 years old. Justin?
Yeah, horrible. And he's just kind kind of started to back off a little bit.
The irony of it.
Yeah, that's what people that have worked with him for 30 years are saying. He helped build ESPN. Whatever you think of Berman and what.
There's no question.
He was a.
I think he gets vilified too.
Agree totally. Agree totally.
Ridiculous.
But the irony of backing off his career a little bit, moving into the second phase of life, so to speak, to spend more time with his family, and it's always horrible, no matter when it happens.
Unspeakable.
But something about the timing of it all seems especially
very
cruel.
true.
Very sad. Next up, the Lynx host their home opener against Chicago on Sunday, and get this, every home game will be televised, and several on the road games as well. Dan?
Yeah, I think it's 24 games total.
Yeah,
which is outstanding. No team has earned that more. We've talked about all the frustrations we have with our various teams. Now, again, it ended badly. They really needed and should have won Game 5 last year, lost by 1 point, and they haven't forgotten it.
No, they have not.
But the idea that you've had a culture of excellence there, and how many controversies have we had off the field, off the court involving this particular program? So I'm glad they're getting a little bit more spotlight, and I like that they're going to St. Paul for a year. Who knows? Maybe it will expose a few more people to the product.
As they know, the window at some point for these veterans is going to close.
That's true.
Which is why we've said forever, appreciate it while it's here.
Because
this is rare, what they've done, and who knows how much longer.
Here's another team in the spotlight, the Gopher softball team. They have a lot to be proud of. We were talking about Big Ted's title, Coach of the Year, Pitcher of the Year, Player of the Year. Justin?
I believe ranked number 2 in the current softball poll. Jessica Allister's done an unbelievable job. I don't know off the top of my head.
Not a great softball mind?
Well, I am when it comes to the Big Ten. I know it's going to be them in Michigan probably on Saturday in the Big Ten tournament. But Jessica Allister hired a handful of years ago. They kind of flew out like a comet, made it to the Super Regional, and they've just slowly built. They've got an unbelievable freshman who is the Player of the Year, the Freshman of the Year, and she's a great coach. She's an outstanding coach. And you mentioned it earlier, one of the great programs right now in the country and one of the shining stars at a university that needs all the help they can get at some points, right?
The Board of Regents would like to be talking about, but instead
it'd be helpful.
Talking about something else.
So all of our kids are young, but a new study shows, so we have some time to go. New study shows 26% of millennials in college plan to move back home to help pay for college loans. Ameritrade says nearly 3 in 10 said they wouldn't be embarrassed until they turn 30. Dan?
I'm just, now look.
We have some time.
I get that you may, if you got the debt and certain financial realities, I get that. But honestly, I weep for the future. That's all I can say. Can I say it any more directly than
Wouldn't
that?
you love it?
Weep
as a parent, Giamanzi comes back. She's got the tassel.
No.
She graduated maybe from St. Olaf, and she goes, "Dad, Mom, I'm not ready to move out yet. I want to stay with you more." You'd say, "Gia,
stand up on your own 2 feet. We'll visit you as much as you want. You're always welcome to come back here. Any problems you have, we'll try to talk it out. Although by then, I'm sure she'll be bored with us trying to talk anything out.
I'll tell you what,
I'm alive.
As a almost 35-year-old, I would love to move my entire family back with my parents for the financial reasons.
Okay, finally.
There's no debt. I just would like to save a little money.
Just stand downstairs playing video games. We're happy for you.
Finally, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, considering a run for the White House. He tells GQ that a run could be a real possibility, but he didn't endorse anyone, so we're not quite sure where he stands. Dan?
What's the difference?
I was going to say.
Why not?
We can't laugh at any of this anymore.
No, it's all possible.
Oprah occasionally musing about it. The Rock musing about it. Is there a musician?
Only
How about
in America.
Springsteen?
He could do it.
Bruce Springsteen could probably do it. He'd have a built-in following from the beginning. So no, I mean, we now know that all bets are off.
Anything is possible in the United States of America, and isn't that what we want?
What we
isn't
said
that
we
the
want.
American